Bendy and Boris in the Inky Mystery by this animated Phantom and Makeaway. Chapter 1. The Last Normal Day. Bendy felt uneasy. He didn't know why. Life had been the same. Bendy didn't really remember anything before him and his bro. It had always been the two of them. Life in Television wasn't always easy, but Bendy couldn't really complain. His brother, Boris, made the hard days worth it, and they had come a long way. The brothers had it good as mechanics in Pete's shop. The hours could be long, and Bendy knew that Pete was cheating them in pay, but still they didn't live on the streets anymore. They had food on the table and a little extra for fun. Really, life was good. Bendy scowled into the mirror as he dried his white face with a towel. He brushed his fur and hair. He made sure the 2 points on his head were neat and straight. Some people had issues with horns. Well, not the horns, but more of what he was, a demon. His light eyes scanned over himself to make sure he was ready. Fangs brushed, hair done, face washed, gloves, shirt, and pants were all there. He flicked his spiked tail. Everything was fine. So why did he feel like there should be more? Why was he so unsatisfied? With a huff, he tossed the towel on the rack and headed into the little living room. Boris was laying on his stomach, watching his idol on television, Mickey Mouse. Bendy chuckled at the starstruck look in Boris's eyes. His wolf ears were perked, and his furry tail wagged. He looked more like an excited puppy than a wolf. He was still young for a wolf, only 14. He still had huge dark eyes. His black fur was brushed, and his white face clean too. He was completely ready to go. He tugged at the bandana he always wore around his neck. "Hey, bro," Bendy greeted. "Shh!" Boris hissed with a gloved finger against his lips. Bendy rolled his eyes playfully before heading into the kitchen. He grabbed an apple and bit into it with his lazy smile. "You know, we're going to be late for work if we don't hurry," he pointed out between bites. Boris pouted over his shoulder. "Ah," he whined. "Just a little longer. It's almost over." He used his puppy eyes, and Bendy quickly looked away. Too late. "All right," he sighed, knowing he couldn't win against that look. "But I ain't covering for you when Petey rips into you." Boris grinned. "He only does that to you," Boris teased. Bendy huffed and tossed the apple core at his little brother. "Hey, rude!" Boris barked as it bounced off his snout. Bendy laughed. The boys were 5 minutes late, and Bendy couldn't help the grimace at spotting Pete. He was casually waiting for them, leaning by the clocking box, counting a stack of money. Bendy was amazed the wall didn't crumble under the girth of his boss. Pete's chin remained patchy with whiskers, his fur rough and unkempt. His garage overalls had a mustard stain. Bendy wasn't sure if Pete was a dog or a badger or maybe a cat. He never bothered to ask, but he petted whatever species had to share the title with him. Boris gave Bendy a nervous glance and reached for his card. The moment he clocked in, Pete's close-set eyes zeroed in on them. "Oh, boys, so you had a plan to come in today?" Pete mocked surprise. Boris shrunk. "Yes, sir. Sorry, we're a little late. It was my fault, boss," Bendy cut in. "My alarm didn't go off." Pete leaned down to Bendy's height and securitized him with a sharp eye and a finger on his chin. Bendy bristled at the mockery of his short stature. Pete knew he hated that. "I ain't paying you to sleep, boy. You're docked half your pay today." "Half?" Oh, think it should be more? Pete asked innocently. Bendy sneered. No. Boris shifted uncomfortably next to Bendy, his ears folded to his skull and tail tucked. Sorry, what was that? Pete put a hand to his ragged ear, grinning. Bendy growled. No, sir. Then stop wasting time and get to work. Cars won't fix themselves. Pete hissed as he lumbered off to his office. Hey, that's not a bad idea. Cars fixing themselves. Pete mused to himself. I wonder. Bendy grabbed his punch card and pulled the lever hard enough to slam it. Brother, Boris said in surprise. Sorry, Bendy mumbled as he cut the punch card away. Jeez, he didn't even sound genuine to himself. Boris looked at him sadly. You didn't have to cover for me. I don't want you to... It's fine. Bendy cut him off. I would just be more ticked if it had been you instead of me. Boris didn't seem content, but nodded nonetheless. The pair went to work. Fixing cars from dawn to dusk wouldn't be what a lot of people would call fun. But Bendy and Boris were prodigies. Both felt satisfied every time a struggling car came in to roll out, purring like it was new. There wasn't a thing the pair couldn't accomplish. Bendy adjusted his goggles as he reached the wrench into the proper position when the bell rang for the end of the day. Bendy quickly finished up his work and started to pull himself out from under the car when he felt a twinge in his chest. Ah! He muttered in surprise. He raised a gloved hand to the smarting spot, but the discomfort disappeared as quickly as it came. Bendy, it's time to head out! Boris's boots appeared at the edge of the vehicle. Are you stuck? No, bro, I'm coming, Bendy said, chiming out. They quickly clocked out and luckily slipped away before they were spotted by Pete. Yeah, how about we stop by the dancing lady for dinner? My treats, Boris suggested lightly. Bendy gave him a sideways look. We're covered in car oil and dirt, he pointed out. We can clean up a little and then go, Boris pressed. Bendy raised an eyebrow questioningly. Please, you love dancing with Tasha, and we haven't gone in weeks. Bendy sighed again. It's true he missed the dance club, but bills had been tight this month. The taxes had changed a bit, and now with Pete taking half a day of his pay, he knew they shouldn't. But... Bendy glanced at Boris. Yep, there's the puppy eyes, oh boy. Alright, Bendy shrugged lightly. Who am I to turn down a good time? Yes! Boris threw a fist of victory into the air. Bendy smiled. The dancing lady was hopping with energy that night. Bendy and Boris shared a grin as they entered the rambunctious establishment. The place was a 3-story building with a large open dance floor in the center like a ballroom. Tables dotted the sides of the first floor, and the balcony that circled 3/4 of the grand room were almost overflowing with partiers. The band just finished a jazzy number next to the stage. I bet all this is for Sasha, Bendy smirked. You shouldn't bet anything, bro. You don't have anything for dinner as is, Boris teased. Bendy stuck out his tongue. Guess it's a good thing you're paying, huh? Lobster sounds perfect. Boris looked shocked. Bendy laughed. I'm just ribbing you, bro. Bendy continued to snicker. Hey, are you going to try and play something? Do you think they'll let me with such a crowd? Boris asked, excited. Bendy shrugged. If it's Sasha, she would. She knows what your talent is. Boris grinned shyly. Yeah, he gushed at the thought. Bendy made a mental note to make sure his brother got a hand on an instrument before the night ended. But Bendy, if Sasha is singing, who'll dance with you? Boris asked. Bendy looked at his brother in surprise. Hey now, there are plenty of beautiful dames here tonight. You think I can get a girl on the floor? Bendy mocked offense. Boris looked away and covered his muzzle with a gloved paw. Well, if it's anything like you're flirting. That's low, bro. That's real low. Bendy frowned. Boris chuckled and nudged Bendy's shoulder. He was about to say something when the lights dimmed and the crowd cheered. Bendy and Boris went over to the bar and ordered some grub and a couple of fizz whizzes. The boys overheard a pair next to them talking. Did you hear about what happened in Crestville? A real tragedy. An old turtle leaned over to the aged hare next to him. I don't think they'll ever be the same. It was just a bunch of old buildings, you cod. The hare barked and coughed. His grey muzzle twitched in annoyance. They're real bold without too much trouble. You old fool, the turtle groaned. You don't get it. Their town was attacked. Folks are scared. Sorry. Boris' curiosity piqued. His ears perked toward the two old men. What happened in Crestville? Is that far from here? The turtle and hare shared a look before the turtle spoke. It's 2 towns over, sonny. Those people were attacked yesterday. No, they weren't, you nutty shell. The hare poked the turtle's leg with a cane. It was an accident. Watch it, string ears, the turtle growled. And no, it wasn't. Someone burned down the entire downtown district. It was arson. You don't know that, you old fart, the hare said. Come on, Boris, our food is ready. Let's go find a table, Bendy said. He didn't really care for the old turtle's conspiracy theories. The two found a table and watched as Sasha appeared on the stage. The woman was cute in her flapper outfit. Her hat covered her dark curls, and the pearls she had around her throat framed her thin neck. Her knee-length skirt switched at her every movement. Her dark lips spread into a beautiful smile as her large, bright eyes glittered in the stage light. She started with a soft number that had couples pulling close. Benny glanced over at Boris to see him gazing at the band. As the song was winding to a close, he pulled Boris up and headed over to the stage. The boys there gave him odd looks. One of them waved to Sasha and indicated to them. Sasha spotted them and smiled. She gave the smallest nod. Boris hid a squeal of joy as he joined the band and took a clarinet. You know how to swing, little man? One of the band members asked. Yeah, music is my talent, Boris replied. The band members shared a pleased look before they set themselves for the next number. Sasha started singing I Got Rhythm with her own little twist on the lyrics. Her light voice carried the tune to all the corners of the huge room, and many started to move to the dance floor. Bendy found his foot tapping to the beat. His eyes wandered the crowd at the edge of the dancers, looking for a partner. He spotted a cute little lady, eyeing the floor wistfully from her table. Bendy smirked. He casually strolled over, and with his smoothest smile, asked, Wanna dance, beautiful? The girl's eyes snapped to him, and she blushed deeply. Well? She drew out the word, uncertain. Come on. Bendy pushed lightly. He put a hand on her table and leaned on it. You'll have fun, and I'll get to dance with one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen. We'll all have a great time. Bendy silently gloated as her face became even darker. Okay, she said so softly that Bendy had to lean over to hear her. He grinned and offered her his hand. Boris watched, pleased to see his brother having a good time. He felt guilty getting Bendy into trouble earlier that day, and wanted to make it up to him. Bendy was always protecting him, and it seemed Boris was always throwing his brother to the wolves. Boris inwardly groaned. Bendy would have been proud of the stupid pun. Anyway, Bendy was in a lot of ways a hero to Boris. When they were on the streets, Bendy did everything he could to make sure Boris didn't go to sleep starving. He had always put Boris first. Boris was only 14, but he wasn't blind to the sacrifices his brother made for him. Bendy just brought the dame, Sarah, back from a far twirl. She was a great dancer, easy to lead and trusting him in his directions. They had worked out a good space around themselves, as they expectedly pulled off a bold swing. Others paused to watch them move, and Bendy felt his ego soar. A light suddenly appeared on them.
"Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we've been graced with television's own dancing demon,"
Sasha said from the stage.
"What do you say, boys? Let's give him a swing."
The music picked up and the crowd cheered. Sarah looked a little flustered at Sasha's teasing, but Bendy made sure to keep her busy. He was just about to give her a lift when a huge hand slammed onto his shoulder, nearly knocking him over. It pulled him away from Sarah. "Hey, wise guy, what do you think you're doing with my girl?" A booming voice demanded way above Bendy. Bendy glanced at the giant hand and looked up. And up. To the bored shoulders and face it was attached to. Bendy couldn't tell if he was a gorilla or a huge man, but boy, was he big.
"Johnny, Bendy just wanted to dance."
Sarah huffed at the gorilla. Johnny ignored her. "Well, small fry?" Johnny demanded. Bendy felt his eye twitched. Oh, this bozo was asking for it. Bendy got out from under his hand. "Hey, buddy, no need for names. We're all here for some fun." Bendy tried to rein in his frustration and be civil. People were creating a circle around them, sensing the tension. "Is that what this is? You have fun running off with other guys' dams?" the gorilla accused.
"Oh, Johnny, you're embarrassing me."
Sarah blushed and looked at all the watching eyes.
"Just shut it, doll. I need to put this schmuck in his place."
He barked at her.
"Whoa there."
Bendy narrowed his eyes.
"I'm fine with you having a problem with me, but that is no way to talk to a lady."
The guy started laughing.
"Oh yeah? What are you gonna do about it, Pee-wee?" "Well, I don't really mind leaving bozos out to dry, but I don't want any monkey business. I like this place." "You bit me? A bean sprout like you?"
The guy was roaring with laughter like it was the funniest joke he'd ever heard.
"Yeah, just like your mommy did when you were a brat." "What did you say?"
"Is your hearing really that bad, or is it the lack of oxygen up there?" Bendy smirked. Johnny pulled a fist back. Bendy took a deep breath and shut his eyes. Bendy noticed Boris had seen the trouble and was desperately trying to reach the circle of tension. He couldn't get through the crowd fast enough. Bendy smirked and suddenly the brute was on the floor. He groaned in pain. Now the room gasped and fell completely still and silent.
"Who's laughing now?"
Bendy hissed, still smirking. He peeked an eye open. It flashed blood red before dimming. The gorilla rubbed his chin and struggled to sit up.
"What was that?"
he grumbled. "All right, that's enough." Sasha suddenly appeared between the two. "I won't allow this kind of roughhousing in my club." She looked sharply between the two. "Now shake hands and make up or get out." Sash." Bendy started, but the icy look she shot him had him swallow his words. He scratched the back of his head uncomfortably. The huge guy wobbled to his feet. With his shoulders dropping in defeat, Bendy raised a sheepish hand. "Okay, sorry about that, pal. I just get hot under the collar," Bendy said with a smile plastered on his face. The guy looked at his hand like it was a striking viper.
"You're a freak. I ain't shaking that."
He turned and left on unsteady legs. Bendy dropped the hand and the smile.
"Bendy!"
Boris finally was able to get through the crowd.
"Are you okay? I can't believe you did that."
Bendy again looked sheepish.
"Yeah, sorry, Boris." Oh, don't be! Sarah suddenly cut in, surprising both of them. Johnny was out of line. I'm sorry. Bendy waved his hand back and forth. No, you don't have to apologize. Still, I'm sorry. She turned to leave, but paused and looked back at him. And thanks for the dance. That was fun. Bendy smiled and she left. Boris whistled. All that and you still can't get a girl, Bendy. I think that's a record for you. Bendy groaned. Don't make records out of my lady experience, Boris. Why not? Sasha asked teasingly. I'm sure it's an impressive list. No, Bendy whined. Am I on your list? She continued. Bendy felt warmth rush to his face. I'm leaving. Bendy turned, but Sasha grabbed his arm, giggling. Oh, no, you don't. I get a dance, she said. You have to make it up to me, since you fought in my club. What kind of logic is that? Bendy demanded. Sasha just grinned. Boris, can you get the band going again? Boris chuckled and saluted her. Yes, ma'am, he declared, turning on his heel. Boris, you traitor! Bendy called after him, laughing. The brothers headed home after a fun night. Bendy had a pleased look on his face. I really think I have a shot, he said. Boris laughed. You say that every time we go to the dancing lady. Sasha just liked teasing you, Bendy. Come on, Boris, have a little faith, Bendy replied. Never when it comes to your flirting, Boris answered. Bendy pouted. He glanced back at the dancing lady when he accidentally bumped into someone. He caught himself before he fell over, but the stranger landed on their rump. Oh, sorry there, Bendy apologized. He leaned down and offered a hand. I didn't see you there. The stranger took his offered hand. He was an owl with huge eyes. His feathers came up into 2 points, like Bendy's hair. His feathers were ruffled and his clothes looked worse for wear. They were a little oversized on him and a little tattered. Bendy noted how thin he appeared. He wasn't sure if it was because the guy was a bird or underfed. Standing, he was a bit taller than Bendy, to his eternal annoyance, since most people were. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. The bird didn't even look at them. Instead, he kept scanning around the street. I was looking for someone that might be able to help me. He sounded really nervous, even hooting in the middle of his sentence. He swayed dangerously, and Bendy had to catch him. The bird's wing landed on his chest. The owl gasped and pulled back. Oh no! Another one! This is truly a terrible day! Bendy felt alarms go off in his head. His first reaction was to get out, not get involved. The owl's huge eyes widened as his gaze fell on Bendy. What's terrible? Can we help you? Boris offered. Bendy wanted to smack his forehead. You would think living on the streets would have taught the kid to be more cautious. You! The owl's huge eyes stared at Bendy in dismay. Bendy tensed, not knowing how to react. You're the one I'm looking for. Oh no, this is truly unfortunate. Me? He asked, pointing at himself with a disturbed look on his face. Yes! The owl screeched. Look, pal, I don't know. You may be the only one that can stop all of this. With your talent, you could possibly stop their plans before they take root. Fate is cruel to you, such a short time limit. To fall to the very thing you must defeat. He hooted. Bendy took a half step back. He did not like this. The bird was a few screws too loose for his taste. Stop who? What plans? Defeat what? Boris asked innocently. Bendy wanted to shake him. Didn't he see talking to this guy was a bad idea? The owl opened his beak, but snapped it shut. He suddenly swiveled his head completely around to look behind him. Bendy's skin crawled at the weird position.
Boris was also startled by this. The owl's head came back around to face them.
It's not safe to talk about this out here. Please, is there somewhere we can go to seek shelter? I will explain all there.
He whispered, turning his head from one side to the other. Boris shifted and shore. Bendy knew exactly what Boris was thinking.
Could you excuse us for a second?
Bendy asked. Bendy yanked Boris away before the crazy dodo could say anything. Bendy pulled Boris down to his level by the bandana tied around his neck.
Boris, what are you thinking?
He demanded with a hiss.
What? He just wants help,
Boris said with a small shrug.
What did I say about trusting strangers?
Bendy demanded.
Don't?
One of Boris's ears fell back as he furrowed his brows.
Exactly,
Bendy hissed.
But he looks like he's in some kind of trouble,
Boris argued.
Yeah, trouble we don't need to be a part of.
Bendy pointed a finger at Boris.
No arguing. We aren't taking this dodo with us.
But Bendy...
No buts. He's a wacko and we have enough problems getting by.
Bendy narrowed his eyes.
Bendy...
Boris tried again.
No! How many times do I have to say it? We can't trust him.
Bendy shook his head and clenched his fists.
That is good,
a voice said behind Bendy. He flinched and spun around. The owl was smiling gently.
There are many that you can trust. You will be safer keeping your guard up. I'm Wilson, by the way. I know you must be confused, but I beg you, you are the only ones I can turn to. You and your talents.
Bendy groaned.
You got the wrong people.
Bendy denied. He pointed to Boris.
Boris can just play and I dance. That's it. Those are good, but not your true talents.
The owl said with a glitter of amusement in his eyes.
Then we're mechanics. Is that what you want to hear?
Bendy huffed. The owl shook his head.
No need to hide it, Sonny. Though I can understand why you don't want to broadcast your talents. It's very rare and mysterious.
Bendy bristled.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The automate response came. The owl chuckled. Boris shifted nervously beside Bendy. He didn't like this either. Anytime Bendy's hidden talent came up, things got scary.
It's okay. I saw what you did in that restaurant. I know what you can do. It's fine. Everyone has one true talent. Some are hard to understand or use. Mine is perception. I can perceive truth more clearly than most.
Really?
Boris said in awe. Bendy rolled his eyes, not believing a word of it.
Yes, just like I can see your true talents, I can tell many things, the owl said. Great, a fortune teller. Sorry, man, but we gotta go.
Bendy said, hooking Boris's arm and dragging him away.
Bendy, please,
Boris started.
Shush, Boris.
Bendy was fed up.
Please, sir, I have nowhere to go and no friend in this world. If you will just spare me an ear and a night, I will leave when the sun comes up, if you wish.
The owl took a couple steps toward the retreating pair, but stopped. When Bendy didn't stop, the owl's head dropped, his beak hid in the collar of his worn coat. A wind came through the night and brushed leaves into whispering songs.
You really got nowhere to go?
Wilson looked up to see Bendy staring at him blankly over his shoulder. Wilson blinked his huge eyes before nodding. Bendy pursed his lips. He glanced at Boris, who was using his puppy eyes to their full effect. Bendy cringed and didn't say anything for a long moment. He looked back at the lone figure. The guy looked like he hadn't been indoors for some time. Bendy sighed.
Curses. All right,
he forced out between his teeth.
Yay!
Boris cheered.
But I have questions, Bendy snapped. And you do anything suspicious or crazy, and I will throw you out on your tail feathers. Got it? Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Wilson looked like he was on the edge of tears. Bendy's scowl softened a little.
Have you eaten anything? Boris asked.
Oh, yes. A kind tortoise bought me a meal earlier, Wilson responded. That's why I was there, to see that altercation between you and that other gentleman. Bendy felt fear slice up his spine and dismay sink into his stomach. He felt like he had just made a terrible mistake. He couldn't shake off Wilson's earlier comments. I know what you can do. Oh no, another one. This is truly a terrible day. Fate is cruel to you. Such a short time limit. Bendy felt uneasy. He didn't know why. It felt like life might never be the same.